Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darlene Atkins. I'm the executive producer of this wonderful film. We are having a rehearsal today. We're going to go over here and barge in this little shindig that's happening over there with all the actors in just a moment. All right, let's cut there.
Scene 13, shot 1. She returns to her stool behind the counter. A little step. And break.
I love you like I do. Love you like I. Love you like I. Love you. Yeah, love you like I do. Love you like I. Love you like I. Nobody will love you. Yeah, love you.
22, shot 6, take 1.
Nobody will treat you.
Okay, and just hold. And
Rolls.
Scene 17, shot 5, take 1, Mark.
Cowboy Dinner.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of In the Know Women Show. I'm your host, Darlene Adkins, and I have 3 guests with me today. We're not going to have like a formal interview process here because we have taken a quick break from our filmmaking activities today, so it's going to be less formal. And we'll go around the seats and we'll introduce everybody. But today's intention is to talk with each one of these women about how they got into the filmmaking business, and I'll even include my story too as well. So thank you for joining us, and let's get started with, all right, who feels like they want to jump in and start first?
Too much pressure, too much pressure.
All right, how about Lisa to my left?
I will start, I guess. I am Lisa Sandel. I am working on this wonderful film with amazing women. Started in film in, I don't know if I want to say the year, 1994. Worked as a production assistant, worked up to coordinator, production manager, and now producing.
Wow.
Very, very interesting, long, very interesting career.
Okay.
Music videos, commercials, TVs.
All right, we'll go through a quick few introductions, and then we'll come back around and we'll get into more details. How about you, Allison?
I'm Allison Graff. I have very minimal experience in film, aside from sitting and watching a lot of films. I've always loved watching movies and television and musicals, so I have been looking for opportunities in Olympia to get involved, and Darlene found me on Facebook and invited me to be part of this project, so I'm now being a production assistant, and it's been a great time. I've had a really fun time getting to know everybody.
Great.
Hi, I'm Peyton Pellerin. I have a lot of experience in film. I went to school for film at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I moved here in October and just recently got on this film to work with all these fabulous ladies. So that's been really great. But I've done from TV shows to movies to music videos, short films, all of it. So it's been very fun.
Great, great. Well, thank you all for being here. I'll share a little bit about myself. I've been in the state since 2016 and tried to get started in, television back in Ohio. They also had a local access channel like Thurston Community Media. It was Media Bridges, and did some classes, but couldn't seem to get my program off the ground. I wanted to do a women's talk show. Came out here and ended up looking around and finding Thurston Community Media, and was able to recruit some women that had a little more time than others, retired. And you all know some of them. They host, they're on the crew. You see them in the opening of the show. And it was great. We started last October and got wonderful training from Robert Cam, who works here, and got this show off the ground in the Know Women's Show. Our second episode actually had Janice Liu and Isabel Klein, who we're all working with now. They're back at the clubhouse, continuing with some filmmaking activities we have going on today. So if you haven't watched that episode, check out the second one. So I also discovered Olympia Film Collective, and
went in there and a couple of times and got to know a few people. So when they were looking for someone to produce an all-woman film, someone reached out to me, and that was Brendan Thompson, and he reached out to several others, and we had a meeting, and you know, it didn't seem to matter that maybe some of us didn't have a lot of experience and some of us did. There's some kind of faith that goes into filmmaking where, you know, you'll get it done if you believe you can do it, or you'll find the right combination of people to do it. And so we went forward, and we got stalled for a little while. We didn't have all the people we needed, and we had a summer. We took a sabbatical over summer, but we've come back, and lo and behold, other women have shown up, and these are 3 of those women that weren't here in Olympia a while ago when we were thinking about doing the film, and have recently shown up, or we've discovered in one way or the other. So we're working on this film, and are you comfortable, Lisa, sort of describing the film we're doing now? Can you sort of put that to a summary of that?
A little bit, I think. The story centers around Alice, who owns bookstore, video store, who, for whatever family reasons we don't know quite at the beginning, has kind of lost contact with the outside world a little bit, and is trying to find ways to reconnect with her community and family at the end too. You know, bringing everybody together, finding that one thing that everybody likes and can bond over.
Yeah, it's a great script, and when I picked it up, I read it, and I could connect with it on several ways. You know, the bookstore owner is a 50-plus woman. I now qualify for that. And she's trying to create community, and I'm a big believer in that. I love it. And yeah, and I remember my days up in Barrow, Alaska, where there was one bookstore, or one video store owner, a 50-plus woman, and I enjoyed going in there. And that's when I really got into some other than mainstream films and getting interested. She had a little bit of everything, you know, international films and foreign films, and it was just a great place in this small town, only fly in, fly out, to come together, and you'd see your neighbors and community members there often at the video store. So yeah, I love this script, and I feel so thankful to be a part of it. I was really nervous at first, but now I'm getting more comfortable, and then, like I said, all these women are showing up to be a part of this project, and teach others or learn as we're doing it. So let me shoot over to Allison a little bit, because she is one of the new to the business of filmmaking, and I know you said you kind of had an interest in film, and for those that are watching, I think Olympia can be a little bit unique, that you can just kind of walk in the door and get started. Yeah. But tell us a little bit about that experience from just maybe even only a month ago to now, and what you have experienced.
It's been kind of wild that I was like, maybe I should just actually jump into this and try to get into film instead of just thinking about doing it one day. And so I emailed someone through the Olympia Film Collective, and then put out a post on Facebook. And I mean, within days, someone had gotten back to me, you being one of those people, to say, I'm working on a project. Do you want to come observe? Can I help teach you? What do you want to learn? So even a month ago, I definitely would not have thought that I would be involved in something on a regular basis. And to even find out that this project exists, which is, you know, predominantly women, is fantastic, because I've felt really welcomed, and just felt like all the other women that have been teaching me have been so compassionate and patient, which has been really lovely. So to be in a space where I'm learning from women also feels really, really special.
Yeah, that's great. Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And then Peyton, let me ask you about, you have a lot of experience, and I want to get into more of that, but maybe talk about that. You know, is there anything special to you with working like with this all-woman crew, based on the experiences you've had, and then talk about all those experiences, if you would.
Yeah, this is quite unique. I've never been on a set where we had an all-women's crew. I've always worked with multiple people, I've worked with diversity people. It's always so many different cultures and faces behind set, but I worked on some big movie sets. I had worked on a TV movie for the Sci-Fi Channel called You Might Be the Killer, and that was probably the biggest budget I had worked on, and I was a production assistant, so a PA, and I worked primarily on the back side of the paperwork, which was unique because I had never done that on a set before, so I learned a lot about like budgeting and things like that. I've also been a director. I've directed my own films. I've directed 4 and premiered 2 at the local Grand Theater I lived at, in Louisiana where I lived. And I've done a TV show pilot called Rent-A-Ride, where I was an extra as well as a PA assistant. So that was fun. And my first movie I ever did, I did directing, cinematography, writing. I wrote the script, done everything in between. So the only thing I've never done is makeup, and I hope I never have to do makeup in there. I think I would be a little worried. Leave that to the professionals.
Yeah.
But no, I've enjoyed it. I write my own scripts in my spare time. A full-length film as well as a TV show pilot. So hopefully, eventually, one of those will be something. But we'll see.
Yeah. Wow,
So
that's great.
Yeah.
Great. So glad you're on board.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa. I know you have a pretty long resume as well. Do you mind sharing some more of that?
Oh gosh. First movie I ever worked on was Citizen Ruth with Alexander Payne, who did Election, about Schmidt. I worked on Election. Gosh, I sometimes lose track of some of the big ones. The Mexican, Ocean's 11. I lived in Vegas for a very long time, and so being in Vegas, I was able to work both in Los Angeles and Vegas because there are 5 people who did my job in Vegas. There were 500 who did the same job in Los Angeles, so it was a lot easier to be in a smaller market. But it was a great experience because you can't fake Vegas anywhere else. You have to, if you want Vegas, you have to go there. And so it provided a lot of opportunities to work on many shoots. And like I said, it turned into a lot of commercial work and a lot of TV. And then the movies kind of I stopped doing for a while. Yeah. And then I got married and had kids and walked away for a little bit. And it was very, very exciting to come back here again and find a whole community, and especially women, because it is a very different experience being on a crew, I think, with just women as opposed to more men, in producing or directing. It's a whole different world. And this is much more relaxed, I think.
I hope so. I hope we maintain our relaxed state all through the project.
So.
We'll see once we get further into it, I think.
I think pre-production is going to be far more stressful than actual filming.
Actually filming. Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot easier, for sure.
Yeah, we're taking, I think, now we're taking a little bit of extra time to sort of nail down these steps that will make our lives easier on the shoot during production. So let's see, where's a good place to go from here? Well, let's see. Maybe we can talk about schooling. I think all of us, mine was very brief, but I think each one of us has had some formal training. Is that right? You have not?
I have not.
You have not? Okay.
I stepped in. A friend of mine started as an actress and learned she did not take direction well. And so she moved behind the camera, and she still produces movies now. She's doing some big stuff, but we worked together, and she brought me on and taught me everything. As she moved up, I went up the ladder with her. Oh, wow. And no school. I kind of wish I had. I missed out on, learning the actual lighting and camera, things like that. I have never had training on those.
And do you find like it's fairly easy these days maybe to at least get out there on the internet or maybe some books?
Oh, most definitely. Yes. Yes.
If you don't have the opportunity right now to get formal training, there's some resources to help one out.
There's so many different resources. My kids have learned how to do setups just by watching YouTube. There's lots of great books you can find, and you know, a lot of local stuff too. Finding the public access, finding the people who work just in general, and working with them.
How are you feeling about that, Allison? Are you like, I've got opportunity here, I'm finding it?
I feel like I'm finding it, and in a way it's overwhelming because there's so much opportunity. So I mean, here at Thurston Community Media, I've been like just finding out all the things that they have to offer, which is great, and I'm going to be taking a class so that I can learn more. For me, I think that works better because like watching a YouTube video for some things is great, but I can also imagine that like when I'm learning about cameras and lighting, I want to be able to like do hands-on stuff and practice. So to be able to come here, I think is going to be much more helpful for me. I have formal education, but not any kind of anything in theater. You know, I did one show when I was in community college that we did in the cafeteria because we didn't have a formal facility. So that's kind of the extent of it.
But are you finding that you just put yourself out there, and when the opportunity comes along, you know, you're learning a little bit more and a little bit more? Tell us about the experience just a few weeks ago over, what was the weekend called? And tell, what were your takeaways from that experience?
From the Bigfoot thing?
The Bigfoot,
oh, yeah. So that was when I had just put out a message to the Olympia Film Collective and was looking to see, like, what's this group all about? Are there any projects that I could hop onto? And so someone was like, yeah, we're doing a shoot this weekend. Someone is making a movie about Bigfoot, a little short film. So I was like, okay, I'll come do something. I feel like I ended up mostly just standing around and moving things around. But it's been great to be able to like actually just jump in and see the process of these things being made. So I think there is an element of having to like put myself out there and say, okay, I don't know these people, and I'm just going to show up at these locations and try to learn some new things. So I'm having to be a little brave and put my introverted self away and try to be a little more extroverted than I normally am. But the cool lesson, I think, is that there's a lot of learning opportunities and creative opportunities locally if you're willing to look for them.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding too. I feel like I'm so lucky to have moved out here to Olympia, and the people I'm meeting, and the opportunities for classes, and to create a TV show and get into filmmaking. It's like all coming together here for some reason. But I'm kind of mindful as I go along of how all of a sudden the magic of movie making, you know, like I get to pull the curtain back and it's not so intimidating anymore, and I get to look behind the curtain and see how you go from a blank page, you know, to a movie. And I did see that when we entered a film competition. It's all a blur now, but I don't think it was quite a year ago, but Lakewood did their first filmmaking competition, and it said beginners welcome, and I was like, that's it, I can do that now. I can do that now. And formed a team, and you know, I don't have necessarily specific skills like behind the camera or others, but I said, I think I can form a team now, you know? And I did, and again, we came together. We had 72 hours to make a film.
Wow.
And that's kind of fun too. It's like, you know, you got to do it. You can't take months. You can't stall for days on end. You know, you got to make this film. And so we came together and we produced a short. It had to be under 5 minutes long, and we entered it in Lakewood. And they went all out for their first film festival, and red carpet, free food. We had a big premiere at a beautiful facility, lots of people, lots of swag. So I can't wait to enter that probably again next year, if school doesn't make me too busy. Not film school either. But yeah, let's talk about some formal school experience too, if you would, Peyton.
Yeah, so actually I have to say, before I had ever went to college and before high school, my motivation for starting film was the Harry Potter series. That when I saw that, that was when I knew I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to work on movies. And through my high school career, I kind of stuck through it, but when I got to college, I really wanted to do that. So I had enrolled at UL or University of Louisiana at Lafayette. And I did MIA, which is Moving Imaging Arts over there. And it's different. It's strange because you can pick up a camera and make a movie. I mean, you don't need formal training if you don't want to. But the formal training helped in the sense of knowing how to operate the camera, being a cinematographer, what it means to be a director, what it means to be a producer, the backside as well on the front side of filming. All the paperwork. It also teaches you editing. So I have editing training, producing training, cinematography, directing training, make you take screenwriting classes, which I love. That was the best. That and directing I loved. But yeah, it helps have a little more extensive work besides, and how to actually like formally make a script, what a script is, how to go from writing a script to eventually, being on a movie set, getting your actors making a movie and going to the editing process and where you're going to take it from there. So I had never been at a film festival, but I mean, they also talked about possibly doing that and how would you go about sending stuff off. And so, yeah, the formal training really does help, I find.
You mentioned film festivals.
Yes.
We do have a goal in mind for this project. We'd like to enter it into the Cascadia International Women's Film Festival,
Yes.
which takes place every year in Bellingham, Washington. I think this past year, I think it was their 6th year, and I got to attend that. And another really lovely event, and the effort that goes into hosting this event and making those that are attending feel very welcome and special. All the extras they put into it for the women that were chosen to have their film in this festival. I remember like the director's party, they picked up all the women from each of the films that were entered, and they, with an old car club group, came along and put the little group from each film in the car, and they traveled around Bellingham downtown.
That's
and then
so
showed up at the
fun.
director's party, and it was just really sweet, and I didn't see a lot of big, egos or any of that stuff. It's still like kind of small town, but they had films from women from other countries too. So small town feel, but international presence, and I walked away from it with a good feeling and thought, maybe this film project we should certainly make an effort to get it entered, which we have a deadline.
We're going to do it.
Mid-November.
We got it.
We can do it?
We
Not a
got it.
problem.
We can do it.
All right.
Not a
It's not going
problem
to be
at
an
all.
issue.
All right, very good. So let's see, where do we go from here? Hey, let's do like a little bit of a test here. See,
no.
Just
I'm scared.
You'll be fine.
and also tell me how much time we have left too. But I was thinking, let's try to go, if we could put it in 10 steps, and if we go over, that's fine. Let's do a sequential step to the making of a film. Okay, we can't do 190 steps.
Oh, no.
Let's see if we can narrow it down to about 10. And the reason I'm doing this is for those who are watching, they understand that, you can get your head wrapped around this process. Filmmaking doesn't have to be intimidating or, a mystery that people can't figure out and solve. So, number one, and we can do it simply. I mean, there's probably Hollywood 10 steps, and then
Sure.
there's like local 10 steps. So if we're doing like, short films and small endeavors in the filmmaking business, I'll give you an example. Like, would we say, okay, the first thing is the script?
Yep.
Yep.
Would we agree that the first
Yes.
thing?
Absolutely.
There is a
You
script.
got to have something to shoot.
Yes.
You gotta
Yeah.
have something to shoot. Yeah.
Yes.
And you know, the script writer, they start with a blank page, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Just an
there's no
idea in their
magic.
head.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get an idea. Okay. And then you've written scripts. So I'm gonna digress just a little bit and just
Okay.
say, tell us quickly, like, how you get your ideas, and then we'll go back to the list. Give us some examples.
It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Like one of my scripts, my TV show pilot, was a dream I had. And it was a repeated dream I kept having, and I had originally written into a novel. I didn't like it as a novel, and I wrote it into a TV show pilot.
Okay.
And I liked it better there. Or sometimes just watching the rain, I'll get an idea, or I love weather, so rainy weather helps me. I like dark film stuff, so I like psychological thrillers and things like that. So most of my stuff is pretty dark, and I think I do it when I write better when it's dark rather than it's sunny. When it's sunny, I have not many ideas. Yeah, I live in the perfect place. But yeah, it depends on where I am. Sometimes I'll go hiking, and if I end up at the beach or end up in the forest or whatever, I'll catch a glimpse of something, and I'll, quickly pull out my phone, jot it down as an idea, and eventually it'll come into something later. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it just depends. Most of the times I walk around and I jot something down because it just pops into my head at that moment.
So I think the key there is to start writing, right?
Yeah,
you can't just keep
start
it up in
writing.
your
No,
head and it
no.
magically turns into a script. You got to start writing.
Yeah,
it
every
somewhere.
idea I have, I write it down, and if it turns into something great, if it doesn't, oh well, maybe it'll go somewhere else,
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I've noticed I purchased quite a few, and I carry them around in 2 boxes, all my filmmaking books. So I have another. It's like a library in the back of my car, and I loan them out to people.
Perfect.
But yeah, there's a number of script writing books, and for me, actually, what was helpful just for the whole filmmaking process too is I got a bunch of kids' books. I found those, and I loved them. It was so easy to pop open a kid's book and read and get my head wrapped around these steps, and then I graduated to probably a middle schooler book, and and on and on. But all right, we've got script down. That's number 1. We've heard some ideas about how to get the idea on paper and how to find an idea. So what's number 2, Lisa?
I was just thinking, I think it's hard. I mean, for me, I think that the next step would be finding locations.
Yeah.
Where can you film this? Who can you talk to let you go into either their businesses or on their property and film?
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So if you have some friends that will allow you to film at their location, or if
At
there's
their
some
houses or
at their houses, or some business owners that believe in projects and maybe want some visibility too. There could be a variety of reasons for people who own businesses to allow.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're getting exposure if you allow them to use not just your business, but the name of your business. You're getting your name out there. And a lot of times too, donating certain things, you can always write those off on taxes. People are big on that one too. We've gotten lots of donations of food, set pieces, things for decorating, all of that from businesses that write it all off later.
Okay, all right. So we've got script, we've got locations. Who are these people that are involved? Let's go down this list, of the roles. Do you want to take that one on a little bit too? Like, who makes it happen?
Oh gosh, we start with producers or directors. Scriptwriter comes in and helps.
Usually they'll present it
Yeah.
to a producer, a production company.
Yeah, and then
And
you get
go from
your
there.
wardrobe,
Funding,
makeup, lighting, grip.
Wait a minute, grip.
Grip.
G-R-I-P?
G-R-I-P.
Get a grip. All right,
Yep.
what do grips do?
Grips basically handle. It's. I don't know how to explain it. It was flagging the lighting.
See,
so
why'd
that
you say that word?
Yeah.
Next thing we're gonna say grabber.
So did they use the term grip in your training today?
They may have, but we didn't get in depth into what that means. But we did talk about like flagging the lights and like moving things around. And there's lots of adjustments that have to be made between lights and cameras and telling people where to stand. So I would guess that it's like the grips. They're the ones that have to make the adjustments whenever someone requests them to do it.
They're holding reflectors,
Placing
diffusers.
things, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
the electricians plug it all in. The grips help get the lighting just in the right direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Let's see. Any other of those special roles? Did we leave anybody out? Did we get the director of photography?
Oh, DP. Yeah. DP, cinematographers.
Yeah, so DPs are pretty much, they're a lot like the cinematographer, but they're also the visual creator between the director and the cinematographer. So they're the missing link between the two that help the visual aspect of the film.
Okay.
At least that's how I was taught to understand it. But they're basically like a visual cinematographer.
So you're kind of in charge of the visual part of the story.
Yes, yeah, with the director, like communicating with the director and the cinematographer to have that one same idea of how we visually want to present the movie. So yeah.
Okay. So let's see. We're up to, I think that was 3: script, locations, and the roles that people will play. I guess it's worth mentioning have some actors maybe.
Yeah, so
It's usually
casting,
important.
Casting
Yeah.
would be important.
Casting. Okay.
Yeah.
Casting actors. And then we have a bunch of pre-production meetings, right?
We have a
Pre-production.
lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bigger the project, the more pre-pro production or production meetings you have. You can go weeks with those. Crafty food. Got to feed all these people.
Gotta feed them. Yeah.
That's very important.
Talk about safety.
Yes. Definitely a
Safety's
big step
important.
for that.
Okay. So then we move out of pre-production and then we're on location and we're starting to do shoots. Now, we don't need to get into all of the details of it, but there's these things called, I'm still learning too, or starting to remember them as, breaking a script down and from there you're getting your shot list, right?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, I'm very unfamiliar with that. But do you want to speak a little bit to shot list?
Yeah, so shot list is basically something the script writer can also work on, but to what the cinematographer, director, sometimes the DP will work on it as well to come up with a together arching goal of what the shots are going to be. So whether that's going to be, one shot's going to be a wide shot, one's going to be a full, one's going to be a medium, a close-up, extreme close-up. Because that's important when you're going to film, just to have the outline so you know. Everything's subject to change in a film, especially when you start shooting. Shot lists, breakdowns, all of that's going to change. Script may change. You could change scenes. You can decide what works better than what doesn't.
Right.
But the shot list is basically just to give you an idea of what we're going to film.
Gotcha. And do you need stamina in this process? That's
Yes,
what's popping up
yes,
for me, and
yes.
being resilient, being
you do.
flexible.
You do. One of my movies I worked on, we did overnight shoots for 4 weeks. And so we worked all night from 5 to 6 or 7 the next day, went home, slept, did another 12-hour turnover. And it's exhausting and it's tiring, but yeah, you do have to have the stamina, especially if you're going to do any form of filming, whether you're just a scriptwriter or you're doing more of a active role or crew or cast. I mean, actresses and actors get exhausted just being in front of a camera. It's tiring putting on that persona and being that character, or being crew, moving equipment. And you have to keep a sane mind too, like when you're working behind camera, so everything flows, knowing what you're doing and knowing how the shots are going to go, what's going to happen, and consecutively, like, all agreeing this is, working together to make it happen helps a lot too.
Yeah. And would it be helpful for those who watch films so innocently now, if they were thinking about getting into filmmaking, is to start paying attention to these films and the way shots.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, because detail in a film is, I mean, people don't put anything in a film. Everything that's in a film is important. All details are important. The smallest thing, the salt shaker could be a major thing or part of a crime later on in a crime. You know, you don't know why they touched that, but there was a reason for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything is really important, and I see movies differently now, but luckily I can go to the movie theater and either watch it as a filmmaker or watch it as an innocent.
Yeah.
Because I can turn that part of my brain off and be like, I can just enjoy it. I don't have to watch it as an filmmaker. And I'll have, usually when I walk out, I'll be like, well, that was a great movie as a filmmaker, but you know, as an innocent, or it was great as both, or it was great as an innocent, but as a film, but
That's when the really good
fun.
ones, though, should make you be able to
Yes.
completely shut it off. Even
Yes,
if
you
you're trying
do.
to analyze it at the beginning,
You don't have to.
halfway through it, you should completely have forgotten why you
absolutely.
started that.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I think the most recent movie that's done that for me is Tenet.
Okay.
And it
that
was, you haven't seen it, it's great, but it just, my mind shut off, and I had to watch it like 3 or 4 times to like catch things, because it was just that good.
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah.
Speaking of films, and then we'll get back to our list. Do you have some favorite films, Allison?
All of them. My dad pokes fun at me because apparently, even from when I was young and loved watching the same movies, wearing out our VHSs, you know, that we had at the time, I would be like, Dad, you need to watch this movie. It's the best ever. And I would do that all the way up through my teen years. And so if I recommend him a movie, he'll say, well, is it the best ever? And I'm like, yes, Dad, it is. I wouldn't recommend it if it wasn't. So I grew up loving Tim Burton, like The Nightmare Before Christmas, and have loved a lot of what he's done later on. Edward Scissorhands is one of my favorites of all time, and Big Fish, which was kind of a different genre for him. But also grew up loving musicals because I come from a very musical family. So The Sound of Music was like really important to my family, and being able to sing all those songs together. Bye Bye Birdie is a great one. So I've, thanks to my husband, been getting more into like dark sort of horror genre things in recent years, and appreciating that for what it is, because it's such a different feel than what I grew up with, but can also be a really cool experience to like lose yourself in that for a while and just like not know what's going to happen next.
Yeah. And all this talk about, you know, the difficulties of filmmaking and the long shoots and it's complicated. That doesn't turn you off. You still want to stay in there and learn how to do it.
I think any project that someone is interested in doing, you have to have like the mindset of delayed gratification a little bit, right? Where it's like you're not going to finish it all in one day. And I'm used to that, having like gone through college and graduate school to earn a degree, you know? So it's like, it's just delaying that gratification and knowing like we're working on pieces of the whole, and we may not really get to see, like have that big wow moment for this is what we've created until the end, and that's okay. You have to find moments of enjoyment along the way, I think.
Yeah, I think I have more patience. I don't know why, because I could see how, you know, this whole endeavor is challenging. It could be challenging for people, but I find that I have a lot of patience, and I'm enjoying the different pieces of it. And even lighting, which I thought was, you know, lighting. I'm interested to hear about the class. I couldn't break away to do the class today with you all, but you know, I want to hear some of the takeaways about lighting. You know, and then watch this process when we go to lighting. There was a lot of talk about lighting today back at the clubhouse where we're meeting and doing these activities, and I was like, yeah, I want to know what the difficulties are. I want to understand this.
Yeah.
And when we get on these locations, you know, I want to pay attention to how it's set up and all. So
Lighting is difficult. That's one thing I've learned in film, and probably the hardest thing to me is lighting, because the lighting tells you a lot about the scene before you ever see the character, before you ever see anything. I mean, it's just, that's going to set the mood for whatever the film is about, whether it's a horror, whether it's a fantasy, whether it's a sci-fi. You're going to have that set the standard for what your movie's going to be. So lighting's crucial.
all right, let's see. We'll get back to that list again. Let's see. So we've shot. You know, we're shooting, we're filming, and actually, let's move on. We call it a wrap, right? When we're done shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wrap. When do you say it's in the can?
Usually after editing, I think.
I think it's when the
editing.
the film's done editing.
Yeah.
So editing, we go into editing after filming.
Yeah.
So post-production,
Yes, post-production,
and we go into editing, and
which is where you add all the music and the sound and
Voiceovers.
Put all the
and-
pieces
voiceovers
together.
and all the
Yeah.
pieces together.
yeah, and there's some magic that happens in editing. Is
There's
that
a
right?
lot of magic that happens there. Whatever you couldn't make happen practically, sometimes you can fix in post.
I see.
That's the goal anyway.
Yes, and
to
you can
fix it
cut
in
corners
post.
too with
Yes.
things you filmed. If it came out a little choppy and during filming, you can fix it post. That's
Yeah.
nice too.
What is, because you all have had much more experience than me, Lisa, tell us about that feeling of when the movie's all done and you're watching it, it's premiering, when you're sitting there.
Oh yeah, it's amazing to watch it and just think, even if you're a production assistant, just to look at it and go, I worked on that. I remember that day, and the stories that you get out of it, that at the time can be stressful. You know, you have stories of actors being difficult, or, you know, the strange requests, or, you know, a whole lighting thing falling over one day or something. All of those things, I mean, just make those moments of sitting there and watching this finally finished and getting to see the whole project come together. And like she said, I mean, editing fixes everything. Hopefully.
Well, if it's done correctly.
If it's done right.
If it's done right.
It can fix your story. I've seen
It can
directors
make or break.
I've also seen directors break it.
Yes. Yes.
Working with a director on a very independent, very low budget film, and he edited himself rather than hiring somebody who knew what they were doing.
And
cut
directors are subjective.
Every plot point that you needed to follow the story was cut.
Oh no.
So you had a very discombobulated story, and while the look of it was fantastic, it was very difficult to follow. So you really want someone to sit with the director to tell them, no, this doesn't work. Have somebody who can have that ability to tell you what's going to work and what's not.
And that's, I think, one thing for when I did my first ever film, I got an editor because, not because I couldn't do it, but because I think I was too close to the film because I did everything on it.
That makes sense.
I needed someone to, stand aside and be like, I'm going to put it together, because a director is going to choose what he feels is right or she feels is right at that moment. And they don't have an outside view of
And
what it
that's-
could be, and you need that.
That's exactly what he did the same thing. He wrote, he directed, he didn't have that ability to pull out what he thought, was, everything was important to him.
Yeah.
So when he first started, it was almost 4 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And then he cut
It's
out.
not supposed to
They
be
said,
that
well,
long.
to start, cutting out some stuff you don't think you need, but he was the director. Everything he felt was needed.
Yeah.
So it was very hard for him to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, you gotta have a good editor.
So if we wrap up our shooting for this project, what do we need? What would you think we would need from the time of wrap to this deadline in mid-November? Everybody walk away. We'll have an editor, but maybe the director needs a little bit of a break. Everybody needs a little bit of break, maybe a week, and then come back. The director has cleared their head and can work with an editor, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's usually about right. Yeah. Sometimes they jump right into it.
Yeah, it depends on how they want to do it.
Yeah,
too.
it depends on deadlines too.
Yeah.
If you're working with a studio and they have, like, we need to get this out by a certain date, then they have to go right in.
Some directors also don't want to wait, or some people don't want to wait, and they want to jump right into editing and go with it because it's just easier because they're still in that mindset.
Yeah.
Instead of taking a step back, and sometimes it works just fine to do it that way too. So it just all depends on the people that are working on post production.
But the editor is kind of emotionally sort of distant
Yes.
from all the
Yes.
all the activity of
Yes.
production. So they come in with a fresh mind. And,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so they can look at it differently than everyone else has because they don't have that connection that everyone did.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's see. We've done pre-production, production, and post-production. I think we got that, and then we'll enter it into some film festivals around town.
Yep.
Yeah, you should keep your eyes open for these film festivals that happen here locally, or you want to make a trip to other places. There's the Cascadia International Women's Festival happening probably next May. So keep your eyes and ears open for that and support those if you are able. The filmmakers, everybody involved, appreciate that. A nice audience. So, well, let's see. How much time do we have, guys? Are we ready?
Oh, look.
45 seconds. 45 seconds. Oh
What can we do in 45 seconds?
All right. Well, we'll do a quick go around. Give me something for the good of the project, if you wish. Any words of wisdom to impart before we close out the show? Lisa.
I don't.
She can pass.
Come back.
Put yourself out there. If you're interested in doing something, look for other people that are wanting to do creative projects.
Thank you.
Enjoy film.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yep.
Have fun. That's great.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Don't give up. I went in and out of the doors of these places, and finally I'm here, and it's all working out. So anyway, we want to thank you for tuning in and hope you enjoyed our special edition today with women who are creating film in your community. Thank you.
Okay, awesome.
I was like, can we breathe?